We see a man named Mark who was once an arm wrestler, but due to some compulsions, he left this job and started working as a bouncer in a nightclub in America. Now one day when Mark was doing his duty, his old friend Jin-ki came to meet him and started convincing him to do arm wrestling again. Now at first Mark refused to do this, but on Jin-ki's repeated insistence, he agreed to play just one match. After this he went to the other side of the bar where an arm wrestling match was going on, and the rich people present there were betting on different players. Now the player who was to face Mark had been winning all the matches till now, and due to this no one was ready to bet on Mark. Now very soon this match started, and here Mark started overpowering this player. Now despite a lot of efforts, this player could not move Mark's hand even by an inch. Whereas Mark finished off this champion in a single stroke. Now since Mark won this match, all the money was Jin-ki's. But here this player refused to accept defeat and attacked Jin-ki. Now to save his friend, Mark immediately intervened, and in no time there was a ruckus in the whole club. Now due to this fight, the owner of the club got very angry and he also fired Mark from the job. Now after a week, Mark got a new job and he started working as a guard in a shopping mall. Now one day Jin-ki called Mark again and told him about an arm wrestling competition to be held in Korea. Here Jin-ki told Mark that the athlete who wins this competition will get a chance to play at the national level. After hearing this, Mark started thinking, because once upon a time he had also wanted to become an arm wrestling champion. Here Mark saw his medals and left for Korea to fulfill his dream. Now when Mark reached Korea, Jin-ki came to pick him up at the airport. After this, both of them went to a restaurant and while having lunch talked about work. He told Mark that I want to become your agent in this game so that I can earn some money through you and you can also fulfill your dream of becoming a champion. Actually Jin-ki's plan was to make a lot of money by betting on Mark's ability. Now Mark also agreed to this, after which both of them reached a nightclub to party. Now Jin-ki enjoyed a lot here, but Mark started taking care of the entire nightclub like a bouncer. Now while going to the hotel, Jin-ki asked Mark if he had tried to find his mother. Now it is revealed here that Mark's mother had left him in an orphanage in his childhood. Here Mark put it aside by saying that I have no interest in my past. When Mark reached his hotel, he received a gift from Jin-ki. Upon opening the box, he found a phone inside that contained his mother's location. On the other hand, we see Jin-ki who went to meet a very rich gangster named Yu. Actually Jin-ki wanted this rich gangster to bet money on his friend. Now when Yu saw Mark's videos, he was very impressed with Mark. He agreed and was also ready to bet on him, but he put a condition that Mark will have to win or lose as per his wish. Now the next day Mark followed the map of that phone and reached his mother's address. But before he went inside he met two children who thought he was a superhero after seeing his strong body. Then Mark got a call from Jin-ki and he immediately went to meet him. Here both these children came inside the house and told their mother Sujin that a strong man had come to their door. Hearing this, Sujin looked out of the window where she saw Mark going. Now before moving forward in this story, let us know a little about Sujin. Sujin is Mark's stepsister who runs a clothing store in a mall in Korea. But at present this shop was running in a lot of loss, and to manage this loss, she had borrowed a lot of money from Gangster Yu. Now one day when Sujin was at her shop, she saw Gangster Yu with Mark. Actually Jin-ki had invited Yu to watch an arm wrestling match, and in this match his friend Mark was also going to fight. After this, all these people reached the club of the mall where an arm wrestling match was going on. Here Mark defeated all the players one by one, and seeing this, the people present in the club started betting on Mark. Now there was also a man named Chong in this club who was actually the boss of Gangster Yu. When Chong saw Mark playing, he was very impressed with him. Happily, he arranged a room for Mark and Jin-ki to stay in at a 5-star hotel. Now that night Yu messaged Jin-ki and told that in tomorrow's match, Mark will have to win the first match and deliberately lose the second match. Now Jin-ki got a little nervous after hearing this because he was afraid that maybe Mark would not agree to this. But when he told this to Mark, Mark agreed to lose his second match without asking any questions. Now the next day Sujin sent the children to school and started looking at her childhood photos present in a box, and in these photos her stepbrother Mark was also there. On the other hand, when the children left the house to go to school, Mark came in front of them again. Now these children got a little nervous after seeing Mark. And Sujin's son even threatened him that if he came to their house again he would complain to the police about him. Now that evening Mark went to the nightclub where his fight was to be held. Here Gangster Yu had also invited Korea's arm wrestling champion Combo so that he could test Mark's talent. Very soon this competition started and Mark's opponent was this 7 feet strong man. However, Mark defeated his opponent very easily and seeing this combo was also very impressed. In this club we also see Soo-jin who had brought her childhood photos with her so that she could tell Mark that she is his sister. Then Gangster Yu saw Soo-jin and he went to her and started misbehaving with her because Soo-jin had not returned his money till now. Seeing this, Mark became red with anger and according to the plan he intentionally won the second match which he was supposed to lose. Yu suffered a loss because of Mark's actions and began to assert his power over him. But instead of getting scared, Mark pushed Yu and left from there. Coming out of the club, Jin-ki explained to Mark that the gangster is our sponsor and we have to obey what he says. Inside the store, Yu and his goons surrounded Jin-ki and beat him very badly. Hearing this noise, Mark also came inside the store and fought alone with all the goons of Yu. But before he could beat Yu, the police came to Soo-jin's store and caught Jin-ki and Mark and took them to the police station. The police asked Mark for his passport to release him, but Mark did not have his passport because his passport was lost somewhere in the first match itself. To prove he is an arm wrestler, he also wrestled with the policeman, but despite this the police did not release him. Then Soo-jin reached the police station with her children because she got Mark's passport. Soo-jin also told the police that Mark is her brother and their mother is no longer in this world. Hearing this, Mark's heart broke because he only wanted to meet his mother once. After getting bail, Mark was not able to understand how to thank Soo-jin, but before he could say anything, Soo-jin and the children invited him to their house to stay with them. Mark also agreed to that and went to Soo-jin's house with all his belongings. Very soon both these children became very friendly with Mark and started spending a lot of time with him, and with Mark's arrival there was a happy atmosphere in the whole house. One day some goons were sitting on the stairs of the house and smoking cigarettes, and even after Soo-jin's refusal they were not ready to move from there. But as soon as they saw Mark they ran away from there. Now the next day Mark decided that he will leave this house because he did not want to be a burden on Soo-jin. But as soon as he came out of the house he saw 2 goons of Soo-jin who had come to collect money from Soo-jin. Mark chased away these goons, but he realized that you will not leave Soo-jin so easily, so he decided to stay there and take care of Soo-jin and the children. Now days passed like this and these 4 became a happy family. When Soo-jin used to go to her shop, Mark used to clean the whole house and also cook food for the children, but on the other hand Jin-ki's condition was very bad because all his money was now over. Now when Jin-ki saw Mark with the children he got an idea that why not make a documentary on Mark's life and earn some money by showing his sad story. After this, Jin-ki called one of his friend who was director and he also agreed to work on this project. Now the next day Mark went out with his whole family, where on the way he saw Korea's biggest arm wrestler Combo who was competing for a charity. Seeing this, Mark challenged Combo and surprised everyone present there by defeating him. Now in the next few weeks, Mark's documentary was released on internet in which his childhood story and all his struggles till now were shown. People liked this documentary very much and soon Mark became the hero of the Korea. Through this documentary Jin-ki and Mark earned a lot of money. Now one day when Mark went to drop children to school, a small child made fun of Mark's heavy body. Hearing this, Jun-hee got very angry and told the boy that my uncle is a national champion and a documentary has also been made on him. Here Mark promised his niece that he will win the biggest match of the country and become a national champion. Now in the next frame we see a man who was actually Jin-ki's father and he had to work very hard even at this age to earn bread and butter. Jin-ki wanted to earn so much money so that he could give his father a good life. That evening when Mark came home his nephew showed him the letters that his mother used to write to him every day. But Mark did not get these letters till date because that email address did not belong to Mark. Actually, Mark's mother was very sorry that she left Mark in an orphanage. In these letters she had told that when Mark was with her, her life was so difficult that she did not even have money to eat and she was forced to leave Mark in an orphanage so that he could get a better life. Through these letters, Mark also came to know that Soo-jin is not his own sister but his stepsister. The next day all of them reached Mark's mother's grave where Mark scolded Soo-jin for lying and he decided that he will return to America and leave wrestling and live a normal life. Here Jin-ki tried to stop him because the national championship was going to start next week. On this Mark said that brother, let it be, you have only taken advantage of my talent from the first day and nothing is more important for you than money. On the other hand we see Gangster Yu who had trained a tough player named Kane to defeat Mark in the championship. Kane was a very dangerous arm wrestler who not only defeated his opponent but also broke their hands very brutally. Until date, no one had been able to defeat this huge beast. Here we see Mark training with all his heart because he had promised his niece that one day he would become the national champion. Now the day of the match had arrived. Mark arrived and reached the venue of the competition with Jin-ki. At home, the children realized that they had forgotten to return Mark's medal. So without wasting any time, they got on a bus and headed to the venue. Now when Sujin came to know that the children had gone to venue to return Mark's medal, she left all her work and came to the children. On the other hand, the competition started where Mark, Kane and Combo were performing in different weight classes. These three easily defeated all the people of their group and reached the semi-final round of the championship. Now Kane played the semi-final and reached the final by breaking his opponent's hand. Now Yu's boss Chong put all his money on Kane, but after seeing Mark's performance he was afraid that he would lose his money. During the break, Yu went to meet Jin-ki and gave him $200,000 and said that Mark will have to lose to Combo in the semi-final. Jin-ki accepted this offer and left from there with the bag of money. After this he told the whole thing to Mark, but Mark refused to do so because promise made to his niece was more important. Now in the semi-finals, Mark fought with Combo and defeated him and reached the finals. Now seeing this, Yu got very angry and during the break he beat up Jin-ki a lot, but then Mark came there and saved Jin-ki from these goons. After all this, Jin-ki finally gave up his greed for money and started motivating Mark to win the final. Now very soon the final round started, which millions of people of Korea were watching live on their TVs. Now as soon as the match started, Kane cheated Mark and tried to harm him by pressing his thumb hard. Now due to this thumb injury, Mark started getting weak in this match and Kane could defeat him at any moment. But then Mark saw his niece who was cheering for him with hopeful eyes. Then suddenly Mark remembered the promise he had made to his niece, and thinking this, a different kind of power came inside him and he finished off Kane in one stroke. Now seeing this, the whole stadium was filled with joy and the children hugged Mark. Finally he said on TV that he loves his mother very much and because of her he has got a new family. Now after listening to these words of Mark, tears came in everyone's eyes and they started clapping for Mark, and with this movie ends here.